housing prices in Greenville, North Carolina.
First, let's hit it. Hi, it's Alan Victoria. Welcome to our Talent Podcast.
And if this is your first time on our podcast and YouTube channel, make sure you subscribe and get notified.
As we call a text all the time, 252-327-3357. We love talking to you. Don't be shy. And then also, don't forget to grab our buyer's guide and seller's guide in the comments section below. And
today, we have another version of the housing market, but is different version. Meaning that we're going to give you an insight about different price point in Greenville, North Carolina, and also we factor in the income. This data has been collected by my wife for the last 2 years of the housing in Greenville, North Carolina, and hopefully we give you a really good data that you can grasp what's going on really in Greenville, North Carolina housing.
Right, so we are also going to tell you what the beginnings of luxury is, top 10% and more, which is considered luxury listings in any market. Then we're going to talk about the median, which is the meat of where most houses are going to be, and then we're going to talk about the lowest 10% as well.
Exactly. Right. Therefore, we are really diving into the 3 tiers, as my wife said, and the luxury is the top 10%.
Right. Starter luxury starts at 10% in all markets, no matter where you are.
Exactly.
This is just statistics.
And then the median price, basically, that it is in the 5 different categories. How many percentages is this?
4 categories.
4 categories. It actually brings 70% of the homes. That is most of the home buyers are.
Right, and then we're going to talk about the bottom 10%. So we're going to talk about why these
bottom
data is
20%.
Important. And why, when you talk about pricing of a home, what you're talking about, what your house is worth, when we're talking about buyers, what they're worth, all of this information is important as well. So if you wanted to break into starter luxury, which is the top 10%, which is going to be the first 46 houses of the top 10%, that is going to start at $449,500. $900 and up. And then you want to go with the 5%?
And
top 5?
The top 5% really starts from $550,000 in Greenville. And what about the 1%?
And there's 48 more houses there. And then the top 1% starts at $798K.
And 12 houses.
And there were 12 houses at that point, at that price point. So you can see if you want to get starter luxury, we're talking $449,900. So we're not talking millions of dollars like LA or Miami, which is when I heard the words luxury, what I just assumed in my head, which is incorrect. But we should look at what the data tells us what is luxury here.
Exactly. Now, the medium range or tiers basically it starts from the top 20 percentile all the way to the lower 80 percentile.
Right, and I broke it down by how many houses are in these areas and the price point. So if you want to get into the top 20%, which is your really upper, like almost luxury.
Upper middle.
You want to, those houses start at $360K and above.
Yes.
And there are 237 houses in that upper 20 percentile as well. And then the next 20%.
Is 238 houses is in this category, and really it starts from $280,000 in Greenville.
Right, and this is pretty much I can get you new construction in this price point as well. Now, when we move down to the next one, the mid 60. The 60% point. There were 237 more houses at this price point, at this level, and that is 225 to all the way and higher.
Exactly. Now, for the bottom part...
Well, no, the lower 80% is still in the middle.
Exactly.
And that is 119 more houses, and that starts at $163,000. So that is kind of your mid-range of all homes from 80 to 20. And then we're going to talk about the lowest 10% as well.
Yes, which basically we had 12 houses, the bottom from there starts from $55,000.
And then at the next 48 houses at the bottom are $109,000 and up, and then the top of the bottom is 56 more houses, and that started at $135,000. So when people talk about like, oh, I want to get a house for $25,000 here in Greenville, just look at the statistics of what I've pulled in the last 2 years. It doesn't exist. Also, if you're talking about I want to spend a house on $3 million, well, that doesn't really exist here too. We're talking about what is the price points here as well. And you can see our lovely little bar graph, our pie chart, can't think of math words. And so I want to say that those are not normal criteria is what we were saying. There are still houses that will show up that are out, but then that's those are outliers.
Now let's really deep dive into the income of the people people living in Greenville, North Carolina. And then we have...
And this is just the city itself and not any of the suburbs, because we're going to do different videos on Winterville, Ayden, Farmville, on Grimesland.
Exactly. Therefore, my wife really broke down this income to 8 different levels.
And I didn't break it down, to be honest. I went to the U.S. Census data website and said, hey, what is the income levels in Greenville according to the U.S. Census? And these are their 8 categories.
Exactly. Therefore, their category that we got this data.
And then I got some information from it. I did my own calculations.
Exactly. Therefore, really, we start from less than $25,000.
Right.
And we go all the way to $200,000 and more in Greenville, North Carolina.
So the percentage of the population under 25,000 was 35.9% of the population in Greenville, which kind of shocked me. And then we go from the next 10,000.
And then when we go from 25,000 to 35,000, we are including 12.7% of people living in Greenville.
Right. And then going from 35 to 50,000, it's 14.6% of all of Greenville.
And then from 50,000 to 75,000, we are talking about 14.5% of people.
Now, I also want to put out that I'm pretty sure that the U.S. Census is going by zip code. So now all of this is by zip code, not necessarily by like the city square itself. Now, when we move on to that, when we go from 50 to 75, that we did 14.5.
Then when we go from 75 all the way to 100,000, this number decreased to 7.4%.
And then people making 100,000 to 150,000 is now 7% of the population.
And from 150 to 200,000, we are just talking about 4.3% of people.
And then making $200,000 more is 3.6% of the people. So when you look at this data, this means that 63.2% of the population make less than $50,000.
Exactly. Therefore, this is a big data that you can say that 63.2% under the 50,000.
Now, can you buy a home in this price point? Of course you can. We have a whole video on it, like on how you can buy a house. It just takes a lot of strict guidelines.
And then if you're looking at the median, basically, income in Greenville, we are talking about $36,687 a year.
And again, it just takes strict budgeting in order to get to that if you want to buy a home. The mean income, which is when you divide everything together, it is $60,207.
Exactly.
Now, don't forget, this is not talking about married people or anything like this. It's just population. And we have a lovely chart that I made.
Histogram, basically.
This is a histogram. I don't know
histogram.
Math words. Income distribution chart I kind of made as a way I would understand it as an econ teacher.
Now, really, we wanted to give you some insight that is discussion and conclusion what we came out, because reading a data is not important. How to interpret the data is important, no?
Right. So let's just say, assuming you want a high interest rate of 7.2%.
Therefore, for someone that really interested in purchasing a luxury,
absolutely,
which is that top 10%.
Right. So starting at $450,000, you want to go to starter luxury. And I just did some basic math, and this is again based on the math of today. It doesn't mean anything based on tomorrow. And I'm not a lender. You definitely talk to your lender about a personal situation.
Yes.
This is just generalities. At $450,000 with a down payment of 3.5% FHA loan and an interest rate of 7.2%, because that is what it was looking like when I pulled it up, which I think they're lower than from when I did the math. But your estimated monthly payment when all of that would be about $3,700.
Exactly.
Now again, I'm going to point out I'm not a lender, and these are going to based on so many factors. I just went with base factors that are really, really extreme.
Yeah, because you need to have debt to income ratio, and you need to have a credit score, and also the income. These 3 factors really combine, plus the asset and everything that you have.
Now, I also want to point out, if you're making $60,000 a year on your own, you would be allocating 100% of your monthly salary towards a home. So that's going to be very impractical.
Exactly.
So it's not going to be in that 60% thing. You can still find a great home that's in your budget that keeps you at that 40 to 45%, which is what lenders like to keep you at maximum as well. But I'm just going to tell you, it's not going to be in the top luxury homes, which I think you know.
Exactly. And if your budget is around 25,000, which was more than 36% in Greenville, really making that much money.
Which is why we made that video.
We have a specific video for that you can watch, and you can really start to set your goal based on the videos that my wife put from the home buying, and also different kind of challenges that you can overcome for the home buying.
No, I hope you understood from the math and the charts based on what the home prices are in the past few years and where it is going. I mean, I can't give you the crystal ball, but I can look at the past and say this is what the price points are, and this is what we should be aiming for within certain budgets and certain parameters. Again, I'm not a lender. I'm just talking about what I see in the housing market when I went into the MLS and did some data.
Exactly. Therefore, definitely you need to talk to a specialist, because we are not a lender, and you need to understand exactly, the lender need to understand exactly your portfolio.
But we're happy to connect you with somebody 100% that works with us all the time, because we love working with you.
Exactly. And don't forget to support our channel by calling us and subscribing in our channel at 252-327-3357. And thank you, and see you in the next podcast, next video.